I knew pretty early on that I wanted to own my own business. Pretty much my entire career has been working for myself and owning my own businesses.
What was the reason that you engaged with Dayspring early on?
My original bank that I had engaged early on was a smaller bank, but just a couple years into our business, they were acquired by a much larger conglomerate, and it only took a few years that they lost that small town bank way of doing business. And it got to the point to where I called them to get a car loan for my personal car, and they're like, "We need to come in and fill out an application." At that point, we were running a lot of money through the bank. They just didn't know who I was with them. Even to this day, it's still that small town bank relationship. They know me, they know my businesses, and so it's really just having those really good relationships and leaning on those, trusting the process to get you through.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to season 2 of the When Life Gives You Lemons podcast, sponsored by Dayspring Bank. I'm Ty Davis, point guard for the Creighton Blue Jays, joined by Jerry Teeter, founder and CEO of Mr. Car Shipper and Legion LED Trucks. What's going on, Jerry? How are you doing today?
Great, thanks for having me.
Yep. Jerry, you want to give us a little bit about your story and your upbringing, kind of with your two businesses?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in Kansas. I'm a small town Kansas boy, and I knew pretty early on that I wanted to own my own business. I worked for a hardware store throughout high school, and it was just a husband and wife entrepreneur ownership. And the owner really took me under his wing and taught me a lot about business throughout those years. And so, even at that point, I knew I wanted to own my own business at some point, but came to Omaha to go to Grace University and made it through 1 year of business school there, and decided that that was the time that I wanted to go on ahead and get into entrepreneurship myself. So, I started my first business at 21, a car transport company, and so pretty much my entire career has been working for myself and just owning my own businesses.
Yeah, that's really cool. What was your first business venture?
So as a car transport company, I got a SBA loan and bought a pickup truck and a 3-car trailer, and just started hauling cars for local dealerships and auctions here in Omaha, Kansas City, and Des Moines, and just spent the first several years doing that. Couple years into it, I got my broker's license, and that was right when eBay Motors was first coming out. And so, I mean, this is going back to when the internet was first really getting into car buying and people buying cars sight unseen from across state lines. And I still remember people saying, "Who's going to buy a car online without looking at it? It's a dumb idea." But here we are, 25 years later, and it's just a normal thing. So we really got into the internet side of the business very early on.
Mm, That's very smart. Was that kind of the biggest problem you had at first? Was them telling you that you don't think they'd be able to buy cars like virtually like that?
Yeah, I mean, it was just really being on the front end of a new industry, and major changes in the industry. And so, back then most car haulers were just working for the car dealerships and the auctions. Um, you know, you have your snowbirds that would transfer their car, throughout the year, but the internet has just completely opened up an entire sector of car transportation, with people buying and selling all over the country. So
Mhm.
it's just exploded our industry.
Right. What was the reason that you engaged with Dayspring early on?
Yeah, so my original bank that I had engaged early on was a smaller bank, but just a couple years into our business, they were acquired by a much larger conglomerate, and it only took a few years that they lost that small town bank way of doing business. And I still remember, going through multiple commercial bankers within just a year or two, and it got to the point to where I called them to get a car loan for my personal car, and they're like, "We need to come in and fill out an application." And I was like, at that point, we were running a lot of money through the bank. They just didn't know who I was, and so that's when I found at the time it was First State Bank, and started doing business with them. And you know, even to this day, it's still that small town bank relationship. They know me, they know my businesses, and I'm not asked to fill out a typical credit
Right.
application every time I want to
Right.
borrow money for a car.
Yeah. How would you say having such a good partner like Dayspring has helped scale your business?
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that they know my business. I don't have to go back and re-explain everything to them every time we do business. And um, you know, COVID was absolutely crucial to our business, having that relationship with them. They were one of the very first banks to engage in these the Main Street loans through the SBA, and without those PPP loans and the Main Street loan that they were putting a lot of time and effort into learning how to do, we wouldn't be here today. It was just absolutely crucial to the survival of our business.
In your mind, what's the next evolution for you in your business? Could be the car shipper or the
Yeah,
or
so I'll really speak to the billboard business
yeah,
because we're really in that right now.
right.
I spent the first 11 years of that business working as an operator. We were one of the early mobile digital billboard truck operators in the country. When I got into it in 2014, there were only a couple dozen of those trucks in the entire country. And so we were on the very front edge of that sector of the out of home industry. And I spent the first 11 years just operating all over the country and here in Omaha. In December of last year, we decided to stop being an operator so we could solely focus on being a manufacturer of those LED trucks because there's just no clear um, manufacturer that's providing really good quality. And, we've been building our own trucks for most of that time. And so I just saw a much bigger opportunity in the manufacturing side and supplying the industry versus just continuing on as an operator. So right now we're 10 months into that evolution. And um, I foresee, in the next 5 years, really being the leader of our industry as a
Wow,
manufacturer.
that's awesome. That's awesome. How do you keep that entrepreneurial spirit up within the company and kind of like everyone around you?
Well, I mean, that's just who I am at my core, and
Yeah,
so for me, it's just everyday living. I'm constantly being told that I can be stressful because I'm just constantly thinking of new ideas, and everything I see is an opportunity to uh, do a business out of, and so for me, it's really learning how to stay focused on what I'm doing and not getting distracted with other things. And
hmm,
so, for me, it's the best growth and just continuing on is staying focused on what I'm doing today.
yeah. Personally, I mean, like that connects to my life so closely just because being from Alabama and living now out here in Omaha, like having to drive my car out here the first time was a brutal experience. So whenever I have to get it back home, I'm gonna have to look into Mr. Car Shipper and get you guys to help me because I mean that 15, 17 hour drive is brutal and I
Yeah,
mean without people like you, I mean I wouldn't be able to get it
yeah. With
home.
with Mr. Car Shipper, so we're actually in a very small niche of the car shipping industry. We work with people who are moving
Hmm.
long distance, and so we're the official car shipping partner for Pods and UPAC, and
Wow, that's
so our
awesome.
entire Bekka business is people who are moving, which moving is one of the top 5 most stressful life events,
Right.
and so we get to work with people when they're in a stressful life situation, and we get to take that piece of it off their plate so they can focus on other things in their move.
That's so cool. What's the lemon that you turned into lemonade, or like the best piece of advice that you've gotten going through, just being an entrepreneur and building your businesses?
Yeah, I'd say going back to COVID, in our billboard business, we had 100% of our contracts cancel within a 10-day period, like
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of dollars just gone in 10 days. And so just not panicking, um, leaning on those relationships. Again, the bank was one of my first calls because we had loans out there. And, the stress of knowing that I've got these payments that are due, but now we don't have any business for the foreseeable future. Them working with us and not just panicking themselves.
Mm.
And so it's really just having those really good relationships and leaning on those and, um, trusting the process to get you through.
Well, Jerry, thanks for joining us today. We got in some of our Dayspring lemonade for you to try. We want all of our guests to try this and kind of just give us their thoughts and how it tastes. Yeah, really good. Yeah, yeah. They did like it says we got watermelon, orange, apple, and lemon. I think that the watermelon's pretty strong and it's pretty good. Yeah, no, I mean it's right over time. Yeah, it's good. Exactly. Yeah, yeah, I like it. Thank you guys for joining us today. Can't wait to see you in episode 2.